Cameron Simmons was undeniably upset when he called. The 13-year-old threatened to run away from home as soon as he reached emergency services. A concerned officer went to meet him and was surprised to find that he had made the call from a business phone instead of his home phone. Why did he run away crying? Officer Gaetano Acera recently joined the force and quickly gained respect from his teammates. He did his job well. The 24-year-old took the call without realizing it would change his career forever. His work meant dealing with tricky situations, but he was unprepared for this one. When his shift began, Officer Acera expected a relaxed day. He looked forward to it, given the intense weeks that had just passed, and found no joy in the tragedy. Things would not be as he had hoped. On that day, he would be confronted with something he never thought he would encounter. This young cop wanted to stop crimes before they even started. Believing that it was easier that way, he spent many hours teaching others, especially teenagers, that choosing the path of crime was not the right way to go. He volunteered at a youth education organization and often emphasized how dangerous it can be to go the wrong way. He tried to set an example for the children. Cameron Simmons called 911 while in despair. His decision to make the call would have him face Cop Acera. When he called emergency services, he said he couldn't take it anymore. He threatened to run away from home. Something was wrong, and they had to find out what. Gaetano Acera was assigned the case and dispatched. Wasting no time, he quickly drove to the boy's whereabouts. The officer thought the boy was staying in a family member's home. He remembered some dangerous teenagers from his days as a police officer and thought he was prepared for anything. He immediately knew something was wrong when he arrived. Acera was concerned and responded as quickly as he could, only to find that the boy hadn't called from home, but from a shop. He had already left, and the 13-year-old had no plans to return home. He cried and cried out his frustration because he was in a terrible situation. The teenager became angrier when he spotted the police officer approaching. Though he didn't know what help he expected, it wasn't. All he knew was that he wanted to leave his homeland. When the officer finally managed to calm the boy down, he'd explained that he was there to help. However, the boy still wanted to run away, but the police officer asked him to compromise. He asked the boy why he ran away from home after getting him to talk. The boy hesitated before agreeing to answer the question. Cameron explained that his mother punished him for using his brother's gaming system without permission. It seemed like a trivial scenario, but this little argument was the final straw for Cameron, who felt compelled to run away. There was a lot more to this story than that. The officer persuaded the 13-year-old to let him take him home. That way he could see for himself and gain clarity as to what the real story was. They drove to the boy's house and went inside. The police officer knew things were worse than he had thought. The boy hadn't exaggerated. Apparently, Cameron Simmons had had enough of living in this house. His room was in a terrible state, and he was mad at his mother for forcing him to stay there. The policeman couldn't believe that the boy had to live like this. It was an unfortunate situation to be in, and he knew he had to do something to help. The boy took the policeman to his room, which consisted of only 4 walls, 2 windows, and a parquet floor. Acera was shocked. It was just empty. The 13-year-old had his clothes on the ground in a black garbage bag. The officer asked him where he slept, and he said, sometimes on the couch and sometimes on an inflatable mattress. It turned out that the boy's family had just moved from Texas to South Carolina to take care of an ailing family member. His mother, a deeply religious woman, experienced devastating financial hardships. Acera knew he couldn't just leave the child's life without doing anything. So unbeknownst to Cameron or his family, Acera got to work. When he regained consciousness later, Cameron was shocked. Not only did he now have a bed and a blanket to sleep in, but he also had a desk, a chair, a television, and a video game console. The boy was in tears and Officer Acera was glad he could help. He actually bought furniture for Cameron's brother too. The whole family was grateful for the incredibly nice gesture. As if that wasn't enough, Acera spoke about the boy on social media, where the post went viral. Many around the world have reached out and asked how they could contribute to the family. People praised Acera for its generosity. He really was an example of what every cop should be. Not only did he make this boy respect the profession, but he wished he would one day be a man like Officer Acera. To protect the privacy of those depicted, some names, locations, and identifiers have been changed and are the product of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual events or places, or persons living or dead, is purely coincidental.